Okay, y'all, so I thought we were going to get through 2023, at least the last couple of days of 2023 without any drama, but we haven't even made it into 2024, and the non-binary issues hit the fan, and we're going to talk about it. So, Tommy Dorfman, I think that's the name of 13 Reasons Why, was apparently taking a flight. She is transitioning or trans, and so she was taking a Delta flight, and a Delta employee misgendered her, and she recorded a portion of it. And I do want to say that it was a portion of it because I need the full story. I need to know what happened leading up to it. I need to know what happened after. Because based on what I saw, I have mixed feelings, right? So let's take a look at the video, and then we'll come back and we'll talk.
And what about when a Delta employee misgenders you intentionally?
While he's talking, you're talking.
You just misgendered me again.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Gotcha.
Both of you have.
Wasn't intentional, but if you want to take it personal, that's also.
Well, she did do it intentionally twice.
You're talking to me too.
You said she and then you said he.
You're being condescending, and if you want to continue, I have full authority to escort you out the building right this moment. If you want to play that game with me.
Okay.
Would you like to continue 3 days before Christmas? I really don't mind.
I'm good. I'll just put this on. And what?
Okay, so now that you've seen the video, let's talk about it a little bit. So first things first, as I mentioned before, I need to know what happened to lead up to that. Now, I did hear in the video that the Delta employee initially said her and then reverted back intentionally to he. So I did hear that happen in Tommy's defense. But also, when I was growing up, my mom used to always tell me, respect is earned and not owed, right? And that's sort of the way that I move throughout the world, with the understanding that nobody owes me respect, okay? You have to earn it. And the way that I earned it was by baking. Okay? Baking, okay? Some of these girls are out here have baked in public and not understanding that while you do have a right to be there, no one's trying to take away your right to exist in this space. You also have to understand that what you see isn't what everyone else sees. What you feel isn't what everyone else feels. And if you're going to go out here into these public spaces and you're half baked because you didn't, set the oven to 350 and let it finish baking, girl. You were in a hurry. You needed to pull it out too soon. And now you're medium rare. And the world wants you to be well done. Okay? So I did hear him intentionally disrespect her at that point in time. But what I also felt was, back to my point of respect is earned and not owed, as opposed to you approaching the Delta employee in a somewhat hostile manner, because again, I don't know what led up to this exchange, but just be honest with yourself and say, okay, maybe I'm not that passable. Okay, maybe he does see me as, because cis heteronormative men only see the world as man and woman. You're either this or you're that. They don't necessarily see an in between. And if you have not arrived at a point where you can appear as either this or that, then you have to understand that there's some complications that go along with that. So Tommy could have very easily said, hey, just so you know, I don't necessarily think that you intended to be disrespectful, but, my preferred pronouns are she and her. I would appreciate it if you would try to address me as such in a very non-hostile and non-confrontational way, right? Just to say, could you please address me as she and her? Now, the Delta employee may say, I'm not about that life. No. Okay? Because people have a right, you guys. You have to realize you can't control people's language. Like, a lot of people get mad at me for using the term cis. I will continue to use the term cis when I'm having conversations around gender identity, right? I don't necessarily go out in the world calling people cis, but I do use the word cis, and no one's going to stop me from using that word. So people may say to themselves, well, I don't feel comfortable with referring to you as she. At that point, okay, well, let's just erase gender out of the conversation. You don't have to call me she. Hi, my name is Akara. Just call me Akara. And every time that you feel the need to use a he or a she pronoun, just insert Akara. Akara is over there. Akara said. You get the point? So I'm not asking you to compromise your integrity. I'm not asking you to compromise your beliefs. Just call me by my name. My name is Akara. Respect me as such, and we won't have any problems. So you could very well have that conversation, but I think that people are just so raw these days, right? This whole trans conversation is a very delicate conversation to have. I have to admit to you guys that even as a trans woman, I'm so exhausted with it because it gets so confusing sometimes with, gender non-conforming, non-binary, all of these different terminologies that are falling underneath the trans umbrella. Because to me, trans is trans, right? Trans is trans. You identify, you know who you are, and you're making moves to live, to be seen, to be respected as such. Gender non-conforming is a bit of a gray area. Not only is gender nonconforming a bit of a gray area, the beginning of being trans, early transition trans, is also a gray area. If you are early on in your transition and you know that you haven't reached the level of passability to go out in public and have to demand your pronouns, because when I go out into public, I don't have to introduce myself and say, hi, my pronouns are she, her, and hers. That is a privilege. I do understand that. That is a privilege. But it's only a privilege because I worked to get there. I sat down and I waited. I waited. I did the work to get to the point where there is no question. When you see me, you see she and her. And it took me some time to get that way. And when I wasn't that way, baby, watch my old videos. I'll tell you guys stories about how, I would go to the grocery store and I would be petrified to go into the grocery store because there would be people outside of the grocery store. And I knew that I would have to encounter them and be an anomaly in this space and have people looking and pointing. And the fear of that was overwhelming. And no one should have to exist in that. But the reality is, once you walk outside of your front door, you are no longer in control of what you encounter. And you must be prepared for everything. And you can't be hypersensitive and walk around and make the choice to be trans. Because if you are a trans woman, you have to be the strongest of the strong. Because there's a world full of ignorance out here. There's a world full of people who are unhappy with their own lives. And so they're going to make every attempt to make you feel bad about your life and your existence. So you have to make sure that if you're going to go out here, baby, and you're not done baking, be prepared. And be prepared to have those conversations, because what Tommy was attempting to do is to put this employee on blast. And I've read the comments, and some of the comments are so ignorant, I don't even care to address them. But I think what Tommy was attempting to do was, basically put the employee on blast, thinking that most of the people are going to say, oh my God, you're transphobic, blah, 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 blah. But most of the comments that I'm seeing from people are actually saying that this young man deserves a raise, which he doesn't. He does not deserve a raise because he was anything but professional, in my opinion. Because what Tommy did and said didn't rise to the level of having someone dejected. It wasn't that serious. But because she was trans, he didn't really want to deal with her in the first place. So I felt like he was trying to cut the conversation short. Like, I don't want to deal with you anyway to begin with. So let me hurry up and get you out of my face. So yes, I definitely think he was unprofessional. I think that I wish that Black people could be a little bit more sensitive in these particular situations. I know they can't. I know that we can be, power to the people, Black Lives Matter one day, but then the next day we're boycotting Target. The next day we're boycotting Bud Light, and not understanding that being bigoted only makes you a tool of your oppressors. Okay, so while I don't necessarily give Tommy a pass in this situation, I don't necessarily give the Delta employee a pass in this situation either. I think that there were opportunities on both ends. But that's me taking an adult and an objective view of it. I know some people can't be objective because they're blinded by their prejudice. But if you take a look at it and just take a look at it from the standpoint of a human, from an empathetic human, from a compassionate human, you can see that there were opportunities on both sides to actually converse and engage with each other. But instead, Tommy was looking for a gotcha moment. And the Delta employee was basically having a ain't my struggle moment. Comment below. I want to know what you have to say, what you think about this issue, who you feel is right and who you feel is wrong. And I will see you guys hopefully in the new year. Don't bring me no more drama into 2024, okay? And if I don't see you until then, Happy New Year and subscribe.